you should be able to row 50% of your deadlift. But wait for it. Not just for one rep. For 3 sets of 8. So I should be rowing 130 kilos for 3 sets of 8. This is what I read on the website this morning. I read an article on, what was the website called? It wasn't Teen Nation, it was Barbell Logic or something like that. Barbell Sports, something like that. Now, I don't know whether that's accurate or what's going on with that, but I am so freaking far away from that. Mate, I can't even row 80 kilos properly. You know, I'm doing 80 kilos right now for, what did I do? It's 5 sets of 10 today. And that was hard work. I was using a fair bit of body English. I felt my lower back working, my rectors, all of that. So I felt like it was more than just a row. Anyway, a row is a row. I get it. But to put 130 kilos, that's almost 3 plates, man. And to row that for a set of 8? Nah. No way. So after reading that article, I thought to myself, well, if there's ever been a glaring freaking weakness, here it is. I can't row for shit. I am a horrible rower. My deadlift is 265, right? I don't know, man. Could I do 1 rep with 130? I probably could. You know, I could probably get 140 maybe. But that thing is not going to be a row. That's going to be like a Kayla Woolham row, or I think Pete Rubish does it as well. Like lots of body English. Like, is that what we're talking about? Like, even then, I can't do 8 reps like that. No way in hell. So work on this, I suppose. You know, something that I've, worked out with myself, spending so much time with the barbell, spending so much time with all these different lifts, is that, you quickly work out where the weaknesses are. I struggle off the floor with the deadlift. I struggle at the universal sticking point. That's kind of my thing. For the longest part, up until basically this year, this 200 kilo run with the squats that I did, I've always kind of identified myself as somebody that does not do well with grinding weights. Now I've kind of developed somewhat of a grinding ability. But that's kind of what I've worked out about myself. The position of the universal sticking point and the hips and the knees, that kind of mimics the starting position in a deadlift somewhat. It's kind of similar angles. So if you can improve the starting deadlift, the first portion of the deadlift off the floor pull with a barbell row, which a lot of people are saying, that's kind of what happens. Well, then you could also extrapolate that even further, one step further, and say that the barbell row is going to somewhat improve your squatting. And I've talked about Greg Knuckles' article about the importance of upper back strength, namely the upper kind of thoracic extensors, why it's so important to have that. I don't have that, and it's probably why I don't have a really good row. And so it's kind of occurred to me, like, once you hear hard numbers like that, like 50% of your deadlift for 3 sets of 8, I mean, that to me is so far away from me right now that it's like, I don't even know how long it will take me to get my row to that level. I've been reading a whole bunch of stuff in the last few days, basically ever since I failed my 200 kilo squat. I've been kind of thinking about, okay, so let me focus on something else right now. And rowing came up as something that is going to translate to every lift. I know for a fact it's going to help me with the bench press. We've talked about the squat and the upper back thoracic extension requirements in the squat. Obviously with the deadlift, people say you row, you're going to deadlift better. So I think the row has kind of come up in my mind as something that's, something that I should spend some time with. Historically speaking, I've never liked the row. I've always preferred the pull up, chin up, that kind of thing. I had my reasons, but clearly my reasons are outdated. I've kind of gained some new information about that, and I basically am motivated enough to give these barbell rows a go and see what happens with my lifting. I'm kind of hoping deep down, like I always freaking hope with my discoveries, with my experiments, that it's going to be like a transcending freaking period and everything's going to go up. I've always kind of have this secret hope in me that if I implement this or that or whatever I'm doing at the time, it's going to kind of push me forward. It's going to unlock the next step. And, sitting here I'll be the first one to tell you, okay, sound all confident and enthused, but it's probably not going to work out. That's kind of the expectation. But if I think about any lift in my training career that I've neglected most, it's probably been the row. And some people say the row should be, amongst your top 5 movements. It's kind of universal to say that squat, bench, deadlift are the top 3. And then the following 2, people generally say it should be, the overhead press. And then, the 5th is kind of the row. And then if you added 6th, it's probably the pull-up. Those kind of like the top 6, most agreed upon movements, most compound, that's how you build a strong human body. I've neglected the hell out of the row, and I've, let's say, developed these weaknesses. Will these weaknesses be addressed by the row? Maybe. Why do I have these weaknesses? Is it all leverage? Is it something else? So I'm always kind of like looking out for that one thing that's going to address multiple things. So with human movement, with biomechanics, you're weak in certain positions, and if that, is consistent amongst different movements, like that 90-degree knee, let's say 90-degree hip, that angle for me is like, even if you look at my 200-kilo squat that I felt the other day, the thing looks like it's almost up, but it's not. Like, I feel weakest at that point. It's weird, man. I feel like I just have to stand up, like just a little bit more and it's over. But I die in that 90-degree. I'm so weak at it. So whether the barbell row somehow is going to address that, I'm not sure. But let's at least mark off that it's not that. Let's improve the row to be, 130 kilos for 3 sets of 8. I don't know if I can ever do that, but it seems like it's crazy right now. The other day I tried to do 100 kilos for a few rows. I think I did a set of 5, and that was heaving match, man. Like, I am freaking using a whole lot of body English. Now, I don't know whether the guys at Barbell Logic are saying strict 130 kilo freaking rows. I frankly find that hard to believe, and I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. If you guys, some of you guys that are really strong off the floor, are you guys good at rows? Is that a thing? Or is this just another freaking guy who writes an article and wants some attention? It definitely raised my eyebrows. Like, damn, 130 row? And this is a barbell row. We're not even talking about like chest supported rows of machine or whatever. No, you are hinging in that position for 8 reps. I don't know. Maybe I should try it right now and see what's up. But from where I'm kind of sitting here and thinking about it, I'm like, damn. I'm doing, 5 sets of 10 with 80 kilos. This is like damn near double, man. It's not, but it's a lot of work ahead of me. And once again, if I look at myself in the mirror, I have some width, but I don't have a lot of, thickness about me. And so what do people say about thickness? It's straps. It's rowing. It's horizontal pulling. I've kind of been all right with pull-ups. Like, I can, even if I don't train them, I can jump up and hit 15. I've always kind of been like that. But rowing, I don't know, man. I don't like it. Think about that. I don't like it. My intuition is to not do it. So maybe I should have done it because that's where my weakness is. But my reasoning has always been it's very expensive, right? Like, if you're deadlifting, why should you be rowing? Do pull-ups. It's, decompression of your spine is going to feel better in the grand scheme of things, of the big 3. It made sense to me in the past. But the thing is, how frequent can you deadlift? Well, you can't really do a lot of volume with high frequency deadlifting, can you? Well, this is where barbell rowing comes in, because you could make an argument that rowing is definitely cheaper than deadlifts. So keep your deadlifts to like once a week, and on another day, you do some rowing for high volume or something like that. Maybe you could do 2 rowing, one deadlift. Maybe a heavy row and a lighter row and then a deadlift, I don't know. But this is something that is intrigued me. I've never really seen, biomechanically, the relationship between a row and a deadlift, because it's like a static portion. It's like an isometric contraction for the hip extensors. And I always felt like the deadlift is primarily hip extension, but I've always undermined my thoughts. I've always under-respected, let's say, the role of the upper body when it comes to the deadlift. So anyway, I did a whole bunch of rows today. I did 5 sets of 10 with 80, 5 sets of 15 with 60. So let's see if I can freaking develop a bit of a row about me, and let's see if that does anything to all the things I mentioned, the bench, the squat, and the deadlift. It would be really freaking cool if I could address all these things, and I could tell you, fellas, start rowing and let's get stronger. Appreciate you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.